What's going on, people? Mike C-Town here with another episode of What Do You Want to Know? Which I guess is the uh, official, unofficial, official title for this thing. Um, it looks like you guys seem to enjoy the first one, so I guess I'll keep doing these for a while. I wanted to make a couple of edits though. You can submit questions through my Tumblr, or you can submit your questions um, on my YouTube discussion board. Try not to leave the questions in the comment section because that's just too cumbersome for me to go through, and I just don't have time to answer all those, and I don't want to feel like I'm ignoring people. You know what I'm saying? I'll also say if you're leaving me questions relating to things that I've already talked about on Dead End Hip Hop, I probably won't answer those. As a matter of fact, I'd be a lot more interested in answering questions that you wouldn't ask Dead End Hip Hop. I'll still answer some hip hop related topics, but I mean, I talk about that enough with Dead End Hip Hop. I don't want to talk about it that much on my channel too. But anyway, let's go ahead and get to today's questions. First question. John McLovin asks, Hey, Myke. I just wanted to tell you that I have the utmost respect for you since I first discovered Dead End. Since then, anytime you recommend something 9 times out of 10, I really dig it. And from those recommendations, I've been really getting into hip-hop and digging deeper into the classics and then the newer stuff. So in short, thank you, sir, for turning me on to the good stuff. P.S. Has there ever been a time in your life where music has really helped you get past rough times in life? I'm going to do something a little different with this one because another question was asked me that is kind of along the same lines. Bernie Mixtape asks, Hi, Myke. Big fan of all the Dead End Hip Hop crew. In one of your videos, you say that The Cure, Disintegration saved your life, and it also saved mine. That album actually was my first love, and I was just wondering if it's not too much trouble. In which way, I assume he means, did it save you? Cheers from Mexico. Hey, cheers right back to Mexico, man. Has there been a time in my life this music's gotten me through rough times? Absolutely. The Cure's Disintegration comes to mind immediately. And when I say that that album saved my life, what I mean is in relation to the fact that my high school career was absolutely miserable. And I totally felt like I was a whack job. And when I discovered Disintegration, what that did was that introduced me to The Cure and to Robert Smith in general. When I first heard Disintegration, I absolutely fell in love with it. The atmosphere, the sounds, especially the lyrics, I was just like, Jesus Christ, this album is incredible. And it's still to this day my favorite album. You know, songs like Plain Song, Prayers for Rain, Closed Down, and the song Disintegration, which is still my all-time favorite Cure song. They're just all still just mind-blowing. Here's the thing, when you're a depressed kid, the easiest way to get over that depression is to come to the realization that you're not the only one like that. So when I found someone who's a manic depressive like Robert Smith, I was like, wow, this is cool. I can relate to this guy, and I feel like he can almost relate to me, even though I don't know him. So Disintegration got me through a lot of rough times. So did Blood Flowers. You know, that record is one of the saddest albums ever made, and it totally makes me feel a whole lot better when I'm feeling depressed. Same with Going Where the Lonely Go by Merle Haggard. That is the epitome of sadness, loneliness, despair, heartbrokenness. Another album that just makes me feel a lot better. Another one would be Starkweather's Into the Wire. Songs about feeling like an absolute worthless piece of shit. When you have an artist that's telling the entire world that he feels the same way that you do, it makes you feel okay. You know, you don't feel like such a loser. Atmosphere's song in particular, Fuck You Lucy, I mean, that is beyond the point of relatable when it comes to having a shitty, worthless ex, of which I have quite a few. Hate Me, but Cages Depart From Me. You know, that whole record makes you feel totally okay about the fact that you got your heart broken. You know, hearing a rapper that used to talk about killing and doing drugs and fucking hoes, when he actually is talking about falling in love and getting dicked over, it's really interesting. And even if you don't like that album sonically, the underlying message and feeling of the album is undeniable for sad sacks. I also have a couple comfort albums that I go to when I'm feeling a little down. There's Falling Forward's Hand Me Down LP. There's Integrity's Those Who Fear Tomorrow, and there's Gorilla Biscuits Start Today. I think it's because it reminds me of a much happier time. Back when I was discovering punk and hardcore, and those three records were really pivotal for me at that time. You had one that was the emotional, touching record. One was the angry, pissed off, fuck the world record. The other one was the kind of happier, punk rock record that made you feel like you were part of something. And that was the biggest thing for me with punk and hardcore. For a depressed kid, it made you feel like you were a part of something bigger. Through punk and hardcore, you felt like you always had people to go to, even if you didn't know them personally. It's weird. I think that people that grew up in the hardcore scene will probably know what I mean. So yeah, there are plenty of bands and albums that have got me through rough times. If it wasn't for music, I swear to God, I would have killed myself probably 20 years ago. Next question. ZZZ Iltoid asked you, "Hey Myke, thanks for showing me a lot of awesome stuff. I'd like to return the favor, but regarding your seemingly encyclopedic knowledge of music, that seems to be futile. My question, do you listen to classical music? Got any favorite, less known composers?" It's funny you mentioned this. I don't know jack shit about classical music, and on my latest vinyl vid that I filmed yesterday, I talked about that. I have a few classical music box sets, but I don't really listen to them. I would love to get into some of the darker stuff. So if you have any suggestions, hey, shoot them over, man. I'm open to listen. Next question. Miss Shay asks you, do you have any favorite film directors? Absolutely, I have favorite film directors. There are a few that I always gravitate towards when they have a movie out. The main one, David Lynch. Anytime he does anything, my ears and eyes perk up. I love the fact that his movies are a weird artistic trip. They're not just plot-ruled films. I've loved him ever since I saw Blue Velvet. Another I really like is Lars von Trier. I've loved him ever since I saw Dancer in the Dark, and as soon as I saw that, I went back and started watching his older stuff like Europa and Breaking the Waves, and then after that, Dear Wendy, Antichrist, Dogville. I love the art that he puts into his films. I think he's just absolutely brilliant. Harmony Korine. Ever since I saw Kids in the theater when I was in high school, I've been really interested in this guy. With the exception of Trash Humpers, which I thought was terrible, I've loved everything that he's done, from Gummo to Ken Park, Mr. Lonely, even Spring Breakers. Look at my shit! This is all my shit! I love that shit, man. Another Spike Lee. I don't think he's done anything yet that I've not enjoyed, from Malcolm X to Do the Right Thing to Bamboozled, which I still consider my favorite film of his. Some people think his movies are too messagey, but I don't. I like how he weaves in these underlying messages into his films without absolutely bashing you over the head with them. And I'm actually looking forward to Sweet Blood of Jesus, I think it's called. The movie about people addicted to blood, but they're not vampires. But it's got Omar and Snoop from The Wire, so hey, at least it's starting off on a good foundation. Another one of my favorite film directors is Wong Kar-wai. I actually discovered him on accident, and I just fell in love with his method of filmmaking. His stories are absolutely mesmerizing and heartbreaking all at the same time. I ended up seeing In the Mood for Love on a whim, and I was blown away by how entrancing it was. If you've ever seen the movie, that line about whispering the secret into the hole in the tree and then covering it with mud, I thought that was just brilliant. Like, that's one thing about his films. They're all just poetry. They're all poetry made into movies. They're just brilliant. Days of Being Wild, Happy Together, 2046, My Blueberry Nights, all of his movies are just pure poetry. And since I'm a big horror movie nerd, I always have favorite horror movie directors. Only thing with horror movie directors is they're not always consistent, especially current directors. But, I always have love for George Romero for the original Dead trilogy. He kind of fell apart around Land of the Dead and Survival of the Dead and Diary of the Dead and whatever else of the Dead. Shit got whack. Wes Craven, of course, for creating Nightmare on Elm Street, Serpent and the Rainbow, Hills Have Eyes. John Carpenter, who was killing the game in the 70s and 80s with The Thing and Halloween and Prince of Darkness, one of my all-time favorite horror movies. Dario Argento, Opera, Tenebrae, Suspiria, great director. Had a couple turds under his belt too. Those are the only directors I can think of at the moment. So that's it for this one. I'll do another one hopefully next week. I got a lot of shit going on right now in my life, but I'd like to squeeze these in because it takes my mind off of them. But yeah, as usual, thank you for living, thank you for loving, thank you for being you, and hopefully I will see you guys next week. Peace, bitches.